Beep, beep. Hi everyone, I'm Matt, and welcome back. Today we're finishing our series looking at what the Bible has to say on the huge topic of suffering.
Oh, all right, Matt, I'm here.
So you are. Everyone, this is my friend Bubbles.
Oh, hello.
Okay, Bubbles, the other puppets have asked some great questions. Do you have a great question to finish off our series?
Yes, I absolutely do.
Excellent.
Yep, it is scrunch or fold.
Scrunch or fold?
Yeah, which is better, scrunch or fold?
Are you talking about toilet paper?
Well, yes, of course.
Bubbles!
Hey.
That's got nothing to do with suffering.
Well, I don't know. If you do it wrong.
Bubbles!
Oh, okay, I'll find another question.
So far, we've had some great questions. We've had, why is there suffering? And we saw that the Bible gives us lots of answers and some not answers. But part of the answer is that people have disobeyed God, but we also saw it's not always that simple. But three things that we do know from the Bible: that God is always good, God is always loving, and God is always in control. And then we had, why do bad things happen to good people? And we saw that at least part of the answer is that in all things God's working for the good of those who love him. And that good is to be made like his son, Jesus. And then we had, does God get it? Does he understand? And we saw that the answer is yes. Jesus, God the Son, knew suffering, but he also knew that suffering would not win in the end. And then last time, we had the great question, what is God's ultimate plan? And we saw the super exciting promise of the Bible that God's ultimate plan is a brand new, perfect, fixed up world living with him forever.
Oh, okay, I'm back.
Good. And your real question for today?
Yes. How should you live now?
How should you live now?
Yeah. Well, see, it's great that God is going to bring a brand new, perfect, fixed
Yeah.
up world.
Yeah.
But he hasn't done it yet.
Well,
So
no.
how should you live now?
Bubbles, this is a great question.
Thank you. And your great answer?
Well, there are lots of things that we could say from the Bible. But today, I'm going to focus on a 3-word answer.
3. Excellent. 1, 2, 3. I'm glad it wasn't 4.
The 3-word answer: faith, hope, and love.
Whoa, faith, hope, and love.
That's right. In light of all of this, how should we live now? Well, by faith. We live by faith in Jesus, who knew suffering for us. He has shown us that God is always good, that God is always loving, and that God is always in control.
Oh, okay, so you live by faith.
That's right. And how do we live now? Well, we live in hope.
Oh, like you hope everything's gonna get better.
No. When the Bible says that we live in hope, it's not saying, oh, I hope something will happen, but I just don't know. In the Bible, living in hope means knowing that suffering will not win in the end because Jesus beat death. And he will one day bring a brand new, perfect, fixed up world for everyone who trusts Jesus.
Whoa, so you live in hope.
Exactly. And how do we live now? We live showing love. We live showing love to others around us, just as Jesus showed love for us.
Oh, okay, so you live showing love.
Exactly.
Wow. But, Matt,
Yeah.
what does this all look like?
Good question. Well, let's watch this video to see.
Okay.
This is Bob. Now, Bob's life was sometimes good and sometimes full of suffering. One day, as Bob was happily climbing a tree, his friends scared him. Bob got such a scare that he fell out of the tree and hurt himself very badly. This made Bob very sad. But Bob lived by faith. He lived by faith in Jesus, who knew suffering for us. And Bob lived in hope. He lived in hope because Jesus beat death and will one day bring a brand new, perfect, fixed-up world for everyone who trusts him. and Bob lived showing love. He lived showing love just as Jesus loved us. So in his suffering, Bob was sad and Bob cried. But Bob didn't lose heart. He remembered what he knew about God, he cried out to God in prayer, and he cared for his friend, even though she made him fall out of the tree. Bob lived by faith, in hope, and showing love. One day at school, Bob saw his friends teasing the new girl. Now, because Bob loved Jesus, he tried to stop his friends being nasty. But now his friends started to tease him as well. This made Bob very sad. But Bob lived by faith. He lived by faith in Jesus, who knew suffering for us, and Bob lived in hope. He lived in hope because Jesus beat death and will one day bring a brand new, perfect, fixed-up world for everyone who trusts him. And Bob lived showing love. He lived showing love just as Jesus loved us. So in his suffering, Bob was sad, but Bob didn't lose heart. He remembered what he knew about God, he cried out to God in prayer, and he kept trying to do the right thing, even if it led to more suffering. Bob lived by faith, in hope, and showing love. One day, as Bob was playing with his toys, his mum told him some very sad news. His auntie had just been hurt in a very bad accident and may not live much longer. This made Bob very sad. But Bob lived by faith. He lived by faith in Jesus, who knew suffering for us. And Bob lived in hope. He lived in hope because Jesus beat death and will one day bring a brand new, perfect, fixed-up world for everyone who trusts him. And Bob lived showing love. He lived showing love just as Jesus loved us. So, in his suffering, Bob was sad and Bob cried. But Bob didn't lose heart. He remembered what he knew about God. He cried out to God in prayer. And so he kept trusting, even when he didn't understand everything. Bob lived by faith, in hope, and showing love.
Wow, Bob sure had a lot of suffering.
Yeah. Here on this earth, we will all suffer sometimes.
Well, that's really sad.
It is. And when we go through suffering, it's right to feel sad and to cry and to wish that it would stop.
Yeah, but living by faith, in hope, and showing love, it helps?
It really does. Living by faith, in hope, showing love is the best way to live. Because remembering Jesus is the best way to live.
Wow. Oh, so you've answered our final question. How should you live now?
I have. The Bible tells us that we live by faith in Jesus, who knew suffering for us. And we live in hope. We live in hope because Jesus beat death and will one day bring a brand new, perfect, fixed up world for everyone who trusts him. And we live showing love, just as Jesus loved us.
Whoa, woohoo! Look, you've answered all of our questions.
I have.
Yeah, and now, scrunt or fold?
Bubbles, I'm not answering that question.
What?
Yeah.
Oh, well, fine. Us puppets will just have to figure it out for ourselves. See ya!
See ya, Bubbles. We've been looking at some very big and tough questions about suffering. And we've seen that the Bible gives us lots of answers and some not answers. But the Bible is clear. God is always good. God is always loving. And God is always in control. And we know that because of Jesus. And so, even in suffering, well, we live by faith, in hope, showing love. In other words, we live remembering Jesus. To think more about what we've learnt today, go to www.quizworks.com/home delivery. And if something we talked about today makes you sad, make sure you talk to someone. Your mum or your dad or the people who look after you or someone at church or someone you know who loves you and who loves Jesus. All right, we'll see you next time.